Good Monday morning, everybody. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Here we are starting out the show with some showers and thunderstorms, some of them already heavy. Been pretty active into parts of southwest Louisiana this morning. Very active, actually, this morning, but we're starting to see that coverage kind of pick up more so into parts of southeast Texas. Not much going on in Houston, but you can really see it in parts of Chambers County, really getting into portions of Beaumont. You can really see that activity picking up, but again, very active over there towards southwest Louisiana. This is all moving off towards the east, getting into Lafayette, New Iberia, those areas. Now, we're going to see the coverage pick up later this morning into the afternoon. Pretty active day is what we're expecting, but just showing the current radar. Thanks again to Tamco Live Doppler Radar showing us what's going on. Taking out the satellite and radar, if we can kind of talk this morning, need another cup of coffee. You've got this weak frontal boundary that's kind of been hanging around in parts of East Texas, draped all the way into the deep south. This is just keeping everything that bullseye into our region all the way into the deep south. So all of the moisture, all of the showers and thunderstorms are kind of hanging around in this general region. We're going to have a similar forecast. This forecast today is going to be very similar tomorrow on Tuesday, and then the first half of Wednesday. We start drying out Wednesday afternoon, mainly into Thursday. You can see pretty active across parts of the region this morning, and we expect that it's going to continue to get active later this morning into the afternoon. Even with the rain and the clouds, we are still warm, muggy, and humid. It feels like Cancun or Cozumel down there, just so much moisture and humidity. Very humid. You're already into the low, already approaching the mid-80s down there towards the coast. The I-10 corridor upper 70s to near 80 degrees, like Houston over there at 80. And then the rest of the region into pretty much the low to mid 70s. Thanks to sponsor of Silsby Ford. Get you one. Outdoor and construction forecast. If you go outside, you're already seeing some rain. At least 30 to 40% coverage right now, and then it just slowly kind of starts increasing once we get into the lunchtime hours. At least 50% coverage around 12 o'clock, and then we should get up to at least 60 to 70% coverage this afternoon, and then we start dying down later this evening into tonight, and then rinse and repeat, kind of do the same thing once we get into Tuesday. Thanks to our sponsor of Modern Concrete, showing us what to expect for today and a little bit tomorrow as well, too. Again, we start drying out once we get into Wednesday afternoon. Saharan dust, this really isn't showing. It doesn't do a good job, but with all the moisture and all the showers and storms, this dust is actually already in our region, but so much moisture is kind of mixing it out. It's not going to be a problem for us, but we've got a lot more kind of coming in, but it's going to start really getting into our region, the thicker amounts, once the rain kind of pushes out Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So that dust is going to be hanging around pretty much the rest of the week. Right now and tomorrow, not too bad because of all the rain and moisture, but with the rain and the moisture kind of getting out of here Wednesday afternoon, that dust is going to continue keep flowing in here Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Because of that dust, tropics are quiet in the Gulf. Nothing is going on this week, but we do have that weak frontal boundary. You can see it slowly making its way towards the coast. Probably won't get towards the coast or get into the Gulf until later this weekend into early next week. Anytime you have these fronts that get down into a body of water like the Gulf or let's say the Atlantic off the East Coast, there's always a very small chance that this can have broad area of rotation, some type of spin, and this just increases the moisture. So long story short, because of this weak frontal boundary, we'll see if this continues to bring a pretty wet pattern to parts of the deep south, primarily Florida this weekend into early next week. We'll see if we get any type of broad spin by the time we get into Monday and Tuesday of next week. But right now, tropics are quiet. Looks to remain quiet. Don't see anything going on the next 5 to 7 days. We'll see what that weak front does early next week into portions of the deep south into Florida. High pressure has been in control far towards the north. They're hot, humid, and muggy far towards the north. That opens the door here into the deep south. You got that weak frontal boundary kind of be draped into our region, but you see the door is open not only out of the south but the east with that moisture into our region. But all I'm trying to show is once we get into Wednesday afternoon, mainly into Thursday, high pressure starts building into our region. So in other words, thanks to Switch Electric, we're seeing all that moisture kind of pushing into our region. Again, that corridor of rain is right over our region, but once we get into Wednesday afternoon, get into Thursday, look at that moisture starts decreasing, get back into our more summer pattern. Instead of seeing the high levels of moisture like we're going to see today, tomorrow, and a little bit on Wednesday morning, we finally start drying out. Thanks as high pressure starts sneaking into the region. So again, here we are. Wow. That's new. Switch Electric just decided to go over there. You've got 60 to 70% coverage today and again tomorrow on Tuesday. Another round on Wednesday morning. Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend, we start getting back into our summer pattern. Very limited on the rain, and then we get back to pretty much hot conditions. Thanks to the rain, right now we're not seeing several 90s in the region. but we are seeing lots of rain right now. Let me move out of the way real quick because we do have some rain ongoing this morning in parts of the Texas coastline. We're going to continue seeing that pick up. Lake Jackson, Galveston, High Island, Sabine Pass, Port Arthur. You're going to get pretty active. And then later this morning, areas like Houston, Beaumont. That's when we start getting more active later this morning into the afternoon. And you just start seeing all the way up towards the lakes region, up to Conroe and Crockett, and even Lufkin can get on the action of several rounds of scattered to numerous showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. Isolated areas can get heavy with 1 to 3 inches. The rest of us, I'd say a good portion of us, about 1/4 to 1/2 an inch is what we're looking at. It's these isolated areas that can get heavier. And then again, tomorrow on Tuesday, very similar. So this brings us to how much rain are we expecting today and again on Tuesday. And then as we get into Wednesday morning, widespread 1 to 3 inches of rain seems pretty common. Isolated areas can get slightly higher amounts, 4, 5, 6 inches is not impossible. That's pretty much today through Wednesday morning. I don't think flooding will be a concern, but we will keep an eye on that for some low-lying areas for some street flooding. Any flooding that is going to be a concern is out here towards West Texas. This is parts of the hill country, Del Rio, Eagles Pass, towards parts of Uvalde and Kerrville. Definitely needs to keep an eye on the weather. They had some flooding last night. They're going to see rounds of it today, but I don't think the worst of the flooding is really until they get into Tuesday, tomorrow on Tuesday into Wednesday. Some areas could get up to 9, 10, 13, 14 inches of rain. Definitely need to keep watching this. These are areas that see some true flash flooding. Can be a big concern. Later on this afternoon, temperatures this time of year, we would be into low to mid 90s, but thanks to all the rain, we're not going to see any 90s. Mostly going to be into the 80s today because we've got that 60 to 70% coverage. Some of these isolated storms can be heavy, and then overnight tonight, we lose all the storms. We lose the daytime heating. We still have like a little straggler shower, but other than that, we're mostly going to be into the low to mid 70s. I-10 corridor, upper 70s to near 80 down there towards the coast. Thanks to our sponsor of Seals Before. And then a pretty active stretch today, tomorrow, and the first half of Wednesday, but we start drying out mainly, I guess we could say Wednesday afternoon, but mostly into Thursday, Friday, and into the rest of the weekend. We lose the rain, and because of that, we get back into the low to mid 90s. Heat index becomes really the biggest story once we get into the end of the week. Same thing for Southwest Louisiana. It's today, tomorrow, and the first half of Wednesday, and then we start drying out the end of the week and into the weekend. We'll see how much rain we get, but widespread 1 to 3 inches of rain seems pretty likely, with some isolated areas getting heavier amounts. Good time to go download our free Gulf Coast Weather Solutions app with active storms today and again tomorrow and a little bit on early Wednesday morning. Good time to download the app. You can track all the storms, see when they're moving in and out of your area. And let's say there is a flood risk or a flood warning. You will get that around the clock no matter what we are doing 24/7. This app keeps you guys updated. So thanks for tuning into the Wednesday or the Monday morning show. I'm trying to fast forward the week. Thanks for tuning into the Monday morning show. If you have any friends, family, relatives going out to parts of the hill country, again, we'll go look at that one more time. Anybody traveling out west, conservative wise, 3, 5, 7 inches of rain seems pretty likely. Worst case scenario, you can see some totals getting up to the double digits. So anybody going out into these regions, definitely please let them know that could get pretty heavy. Some today, but mainly Tuesday into Wednesday. So y'all have a good Monday. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see y'all again on Tuesday morning.
Gulf Coast Weather Solutions is sponsored by. Thank you for making Gulf Coast Weather Solutions one of your go-to sources for weather around the clock. From heavy downpours and severe storms to winter weather and the tropics, we've got you covered with accurate, reliable forecasts you can trust.
Next week is starting to look a little bit more stormy.
But look what's moving into the state of Texas.
Gulf Coast Weather Solutions.